Northside Drive. Toward New Northside Drive.
I don't always know where I'm headed, but I always find a way to keep going. Roll with me.
Peace and good morning, everyone. My name is Olivia. Welcome back to my channel. And today's message is going to be a special one. I know in previous videos I mentioned that at some point I was going to do a video about my firstborn son, Malachi, and that day has arrived. Today would have been his birthday. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to tell Malachi's story. I don't know how long this video will be, and I can't even fully tell you what I'm going to talk about, but I want to share Malachi's story, and hopefully someone will get something from this video. I believe that while it is a challenging, I won't say challenging, it's a sad topic depending on how you look at it, but it's also one of filled with hope, faith, acceptance. It's probably a lot of lessons that'll hopefully come from this video. So bear with me, because I never thought in a million years I'd be sharing this story with the world. So my freshman year of college, back in the year 2000. Oh my God, that sounds that sounds like a long time ago. But I found out that I was expecting a little one, and I remember before finding out, I was pregnant, I lived a much different lifestyle. I was playing volleyball, and I was a very selfish person. Like, I didn't care about, it was all about Olivia, right? I can say that. And it was also kind of like the start of my spiritual quest. I didn't know it was going to be the start of a spiritual journey, but it was. And so, for the bulk of my pregnancy, I wasn't showing. I was very small, but, I can't say I was active in church, but I was a very Bible reading woman, like I didn't play about reading the Bible, and I was very much a Christian woman, and kind of scared about being a mother, but that's scared of labor, just scared, right? But I did a lot of praying, I did a lot of studying, and I think at the time I was also studying the Quran. I was learning about Islam. I was interacting with people who were 5%ers. Like, I was just open to learning from everywhere, right? And I didn't know how important that would be until, I mean, of course, looking back on it, I can speak from a different perspective, but I didn't realize how important that journey would be in helping me get through my journey with motherhood. I'll explain that more in a minute. So, I recall going to the doctor one day, and they suggested that I do bed rest because my cervix was, I had an incompetent cervix. I had a weak cervix, right? And me being the stubborn person I was like, yeah, nope. I'm not laying in nobody's bed. I'm good. You know, God got me. I'm good. Well, on this particular night, it wasn't December 29th. I can't remember the exact day, but it was definitely before Christmas. I think I went out with my friends. I love to dance. I still love to dance, but I went out dancing with my friends, knowing I was supposed to be in the bed. And I remember saying, "Ooh, I'm gonna feel this in the morning." And went back to my dorm room, and I don't remember what time it was that morning. My water broke. And I said, "Oh my God." And I was only 27 weeks, so I still had quite a bit of time to go. And my roommate was kind of freaking out. I was freaking out. And I had my own car at the time. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to drive myself to the hospital because I don't have time to sit and wait for anybody to take me. I'm not getting in nobody's ambulance. Like, I got to go. Now, I wasn't contracting or anything, but my water broke, right? So, and this was early morning. This had to be like 2 or 3 in the morning, maybe later. I don't know. But I was walking to my car, and I remember asking Malachi's dad if he could drive me, and he was like, nah, you know, I can't. So I was like, all right, whatever. I ain't got time. So I'm walking down this long walkway. I went to Bowie State, so at the time it was like the dorms had this long walkway in the middle. It's probably different now, but I'm walking down the walkway. I'm not in pain. I just know I got to get to this hospital. And my mom, for some reason, my mom comes running because I think I called her. She worked around the corner, and I called her and told her my water broke, and she said, okay, don't move. Well, my mama didn't play. My mama came running. Don't you drive. Come on, I'll take you to the hospital. I'll take you. So she's running, begging me not to drive. I said, okay, mama. And she drove me to the hospital, which wasn't that far away. And they said, okay, your water's broke, but we need to keep your baby in as long as we can because it's too soon for him to come out. So I'm like, what you mean? What you mean? So they said, you're going to have to stay in the hospital on bed rest until you go into labor, and we're going to give you whatever medication, you know, to help keep your little one in. So I'm like, okay. Keep in mind, this is like prior to Christmas, right? Prior to fall break at school. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll just be in this hospital. I don't know what to do about my finals, but I'm pretty sure that something will be worked out. All I know is I don't want to have my baby too early. Like, I was nervous, but I also felt a sense of like, it is what it is. Let's fast forward to December 29th. So this is about a week. I stayed in that bed with I don't even know the medications. But fast forward to the 29th, I started contracting, and they could not stop the contraction. So at this point, 28 weeks, and I was just like, oh my God, like I'm really about to be a mother. And they moved me from the room that I was in to the delivery room. So as they're wheeling me down the hallway, I'm having contractions, and it wasn't painful, but I'm having contractions. And I remember saying, oh man, it is Christmas. I haven't seen a Christmas tree all month, and you know, I'm grateful to see this Christmas tree, right? I don't know why I was so happy to see a Christmas tree, but I was. They took me to the delivery room, and my dad ended up coming up there to sit with me, to be in a delivery room with me. And I didn't go into labor. I mean, I was still contracting for a really long time, but it was enough time for my dad to show up with he said he was hungry. So he ordered some chicken and mumbo sauce with french fries, which was like my favorite meal at the time. And you know, so we're in the delivery room, I'm in labor, and my dad is sitting there eating chicken and mumbo sauce and french fries. Say, you want some? I couldn't eat. Whatever, fine. So I'm like, no Dad, enjoy. Like, why are you eating chicken and mumbo sauce in the delivery room? So finally go into labor, and you know, my dad is so funny. So he's looking down, he was like, ooh, okay, that looked like it hurt. You hang in there, boo-boo, you got this. So I finally gave birth to Malachi, and he was 2 pounds 4 ounces, just a little tiny baby. And they said, well, because he's so small, we have to take him to what's called the NICU, the neonatal intensive care. So I was like, okay, cool. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but in previous videos, I stated that I was a preemie as well. So in my brain, I'm like, okay, if I made it, Malachi can make it. So that was my faith. That was where my faith lied. That was my hope. It was like, okay, God, I know you got me. God, I know you got me, because I made it. You know, I was only 3 pounds, and look at me. I'm out here, you know. And I had that same hope and faith for him. And so you couldn't tell me that there would be a different outcome, right? And even my mom encouraged me. She was like, yeah, you made it, you know. So keep all that in mind. So Malachi's here, he's in the NICU. They explained to me that they need to get him to a certain weight before he can get home. I think it was 5 pounds, something like that. And I was just like, all right, we in here. Like, I'm gonna be here every day. You know, whatever needs to be done, I'm here. And keep in mind, I'm in school, I'm in college. So when I guess as those couple weeks passed, it was time to go back to class, you know, school was back in session. People were like, hey, like, you're not pregnant anymore. You know, where's the baby? Some people asked, some people just didn't say a thing. It was just like, oh, okay. So I never had that opportunity. I didn't have a baby to return to campus with. So I think it was just this unspoken thing where it was like, we don't know where Olivia's baby was. But my son was in the hospital the entire time. And so I went from being, it's all about me, to it's all about my son. So after class, I was at the hospital. In the morning before class, I was at the hospital. I was working If I wasn't at work, I was at the hospital. Like, I think I was working 3 jobs. I was working on campus. I was a delivery driver for Pizza Hut, one of my favorite jobs. I mean, I was doing all the things, right? Because I'm like, I need to stack my money. I need to save so that when my son get home, I can, I can have my place. I can take care of him, right? And during this time, I was also an active member of, like, I can't remember the name of the group, but we used to meet up once a week and have Bible study. And so I would go to that. I was still praying. I was still believing that God would heal my son, and and I think on one night in particular, there was a guy. He was it was just a guy on campus. He was homeless at the time. And I remember asking him if he was hungry, if he wanted something to eat, or I didn't feel like I couldn't trust. I wasn't even thinking about trusting him, not trusting him. I just know that this brother was on campus. He clearly, wasn't a student, but I asked him, like, if he wanted something to eat, something to drink. I said, I got some ramen noodles and I have some herbal tea, back in my dorm room. You're more than welcome. And he was like, absolutely, thanks, sis. So he came back to my dorm room, and I made him I believe it was a cup of noodle and some peppermint tea. And he saw that I had my Bible, he had my Quran, and I started I was talking to him about Malachi or whatever, and like just saying he's in the hospital, blah blah blah. He was like, I don't even know why I feel called to do this, but God put this on my spirit to do. So he grabs my Bible and he grabs my Quran and he starts highlighting scriptures. I think it was scriptures in Matthew. He started highlighting different things in the Quran. He was like, I want you to read these things to help you with this journey with your son. So I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. I think I invited him to come to the Bible group. I don't remember, but I can say that brother is doing very well now. He's one of my brothers. I'll just say he's one of my brothers, and he's doing well. So anyway, I was grateful that God put him in my life at that time, because those are scriptures that I would use to help me with those challenging moments where I felt like life was unfair, like when I was feeling all the things and I just needed some strength, encouragement, a word to help me get through, because this was like one of the loneliest times of my life. Like, here I am, 18, 19, and, experiencing I'll just say a non-traditional birth and journey, where it was like, I didn't have the baby shower. I didn't, I had a baby shower later on campus. Like, my friends pulled together and had one, but Malachi didn't need any clothes because he was in the hospital. Like, it just wasn't the norm, right? So I didn't have any friends that had went through it, any family members. It's like, here I am praying and hoping that my son can come home. I just wanted to be a mama. I just wanted him to come home. And I knew that he would have a journey ahead of him because he had some complications. But anyway, I feel like I'm getting off track. That brother gave me some scripture. So it's like, while everything was going on, I was still open to receiving messages, encouragement, whatever, prayer from whoever. I didn't care if you were a Christian or not. There were so many people during that time who took an interest in me and my son that it just didn't. It's like God put these people in my life to show me that regardless, he's there for me, right? It didn't matter about religion, right? But because I was a praying woman. There was another woman that I met Her husband was he was a garbage man. And I was randomly putting out trash one day, and he said, "Hey sis, who does your hair?" And I was like, "Oh, I do my own hair." And he was like, "Okay, can you do my wife's hair? You have to go to the house because we're Muslim, and she, she's not allowed to. I don't want to say it like that, but she needed a private hair session. Fine, cool." I'm like, "Cool, give me the address. I can go to her house." And she ended up inviting me to after, I did her hair a couple times. She invited me to worship with them, and I went to a temple for the first time. Enjoyed it, but I said, okay, this ain't for me. Like, I get it. It was wonderful, but it just wasn't for me. But all this gonna make sense by the end. She also put out a lot of prayers for my son, and we developed a beautiful friendship. Like I said, it didn't matter that she wasn't a Christian woman. It just didn't matter, right? So, I'm gonna sum this up. God put a lot of people in my life during that time that wasn't necessarily blood family, but they became my soul family, my spiritual family, like people that just prayed for me, prayed for my son, right? So I'm thinking, I got all this behind me. Surely Malachi is going to come home. I had to do CPR training. I had to do all types of stuff. They said, okay, well, he can come home. And he had transitioned to different hospitals. He was at Children's. He was at this other hospital called Hospital for Sick Children. This is in the DMV area. So it was like everything was done in preparation for him to come home with me. And I had to, they're like, you're going to have to clean his feeding tube. You're going to have to do this. You have to learn CPR. And I knew, I was like, fine, I don't care. I just want my son home. And I remember one night in particular driving, because it was only a 30-minute drive from Bowie to Washington Hospital Center where he was. And I remember driving, but I don't remember driving, if that makes sense. I was like in a zone, and this voice said, "You're going to lose your son, and you're going to be okay." So I'm like, who? Not me. And I remember arguing with the doctors when they were like, "Hey, do you want to do a DNR?" I was like, "Hell no, whatever y'all got to do to keep my son alive, keep him alive," But and this was about a year and a half into, like, this is a year and a half that has gone by now. So he was in the hospital a full year and a half, 18 months. So the voice said, "You're going to lose your son. You're going to be okay." I was like, So I pulled over for a second. I cried. Got myself together, because I'm like, nah, somebody is messing with me. Maybe that's just that's just the little devil on my shoulder. Maybe it's just a lack of faith. But that voice was so peaceful. I knew it. I get myself together. I get to the hospital, and they said, hey, hey, Olivia, Malachi slipped into a coma, and it's not looking good. And I said, okay. All right. Keep in mind, I had just heard that voice, so it was like that voice of God prepared me, right, to not respond in an emotional way. I really believe that was what it was. So I'm in the hospital. I said, okay. They was like, well, what do you want us to do? And I said, go ahead and sign up. I'll go ahead and do the DNR, because my baby been through so much, and this little man been fighting for the past year and a half, If it's his time, it's his time. And they couldn't say how long he had. They just know that he was in a coma and it wasn't looking good. So the next day, and I think at this time I was an intern at the Food and Drug Administration and living at Catholic University. So I was closer to the hospital, making decent money, saving for everything I was saving for. And my Malachi, I called Malachi's dad and I was like, look, you need to get to the hospital to see him. It's not looking good, but you need to get here sooner than later. So he ended up coming down, and the doctors had already called me, or the nurses had already called me and said, you know, hey, try to get to the hospital by 5 o'clock. I said, okay. All right. Now I didn't tell his dad that, you know. I just said, hey, let's go see him and spend some time with him and just talk to him. And so we get in the car, we go to the hospital, and I had already told the nurses to put the monitors on silent because I knew he wasn't going to make it. You know, we all knew, right? Now, his dad didn't know, but I asked him to turn off the monitors, keep it on silent, just to give us some time to just talk to Malachi without the noise. And so we went in there, and because he had so much, I mean, he had been in that coma, I don't remember how long, but he was swollen, heavy, and he just had tubes coming out of him. And I had the nurses help me pick him up, and I was holding him. And his dad was sitting right across from me, you know, and I was like, okay, this is your opportunity to talk to Malachi and tell him everything you've been wanting to say, you know. And he said, you know, I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you. I'm sorry. You had to go through this, and you know, you're going to pull through. And I can't remember all of the message, but he was talking to him from his heart. And I'm tearing up because, you know, there was a point where I felt Malachi go limp right after his dad finished talking. I knew he was gone, but his dad didn't know. So I think I said something to him like, it's okay. Forgive yourself. You know, I can't remember all of what I said, but basically like, Malachi loves you, you know, and I love you. I forgive you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a heartfelt message. And I think I don't know if I said he's gone or, you know, but Malachi passed with me and his dad by his side. You know, his dad was upset. He left, and I talked to the nurses, and you know, they said make sure you call the funeral home, blah 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 blah. So that was August 4th of 2003. And so I called the funeral home. I didn't know anything about planning a funeral, but I called the funeral home. And they said, well, we need a deposit. We need some money in order to come pick him up. And you can pay the other half once the funeral arrangements are done. And I had already money saved. So I literally went to the bank and cleared out whatever I had so that I could pay them to get started with whatever their process was. And I can say that planning that funeral was the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, because I didn't care about limos. I didn't care about none of that stuff, right? And I experienced some things that I never thought I'd experience at church that really broke my heart. Whew, really broke my heart, right? So it was like, God, I just want to bury my son, right? And there were so many church politics and family. You need to have a limo. You need to have this type of casket. You need to do this. Look at this as a blessing because you're too young to be a mother. The dad wasn't super active, so maybe God did you a favor. You don't have to be tied to this person. All of this was done at church. And I just couldn't understand it. It's like, why does any of this matter? I lost my son, right? Let's not even talk about the internal stuff I felt with. It's like, God, come on, I prayed. I did everything I was supposed to do. I tithed, I did everything. And my son is in the casket. What? Talk about the anger and the loneliness because people want to argue about stuff that don't matter, right? People want to judge, right? Had the funeral. I told people not to wear black. The church wouldn't allow my son's godfather at the time to do the eulogy. So he said whatever he was going to say during the family remarks. My mentor at the time, who really helped me get through it, on the Bowie State side of things, he had never been to a funeral before, but he pushed through to be a pallbearer and speak a word for my son. He's passed now, but he was a counselor at Bowie, but I didn't cry. I didn't cry at that funeral. I wanted to stay strong. And honestly, it took me about 6, 7, I don't know how many months after to finally cry and acknowledge that my son was gone. I didn't do no therapy. I didn't do any of that. I just kept it moving. Because who cares, right? Because who cares? That next semester at school, I failed 2 classes and had perfect attendance. I was checked the hell out. That's a video for another time, right? But that is my Malachi story, right? And the name Malachi means God's messenger. And even though there were many messages, many lessons that I learned during that time, one of the biggest lessons I learned was that God was and is always with me. It had nothing to do with the church. It had nothing to do with the religion. My relationship with God, even though it changed, even though I was angry, even though I was hurt, confused, God always had a way of giving me everything I needed to get through, even if it ain't make no damn sense. people he put in my life during that time. And this is non-family, non-blood folks, non-Christian folks, but people that went above and beyond to show up for me. I didn't go looking for them. Security guards at the hospital, nurses at the hospital, a Muslim woman and her family, a very Christian praying man who prayed for me almost every day on campus, pushed through his own whatever to be there for me and my son. My male friends, my homies, my homies that went to the y'all know who y'all are, that went to the hospital with me to spend time with my son, so I wouldn't have to do it alone. It is now 2024. That was in 2003 when he passed. And since then, God has blessed me with 5 beautiful babies. Did bed rest with all of them. One of them was a preemie. Everyone else was full term. I didn't learn how to process my grief until a few years ago. I didn't understand what it meant. Every time his birthday or the anniversary of his passing would come up, I'd just be in shambles. Telling myself, so much time has passed, get over it. Nobody told me that stuff. I told myself, you need to get over it. No. So maybe I needed to go through that experience in order to be able to give whoever's listening this message that it's okay to grieve. Hell, it's okay. It's okay to be angry at God. It's okay to feel however you feel because you prayed and you did all of the right things and it didn't turn out the way you expected it to turn out. In some way, shape, or form, it's all for your good. Even when it don't make no damn sense. I have an angel that looks over me. He used to visit me in my dreams, especially in my toughest moments, to say, Mommy, it's going to be okay. I used to feel so crazy. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. He's gone, but he's not gone. Right? Like I said, so many messages from this video. And that was probably one of the toughest moments of my life, was losing a child. Being one of the first in my family to lose a child. I'd be like, damn, I'm strong, but I ain't that strong. And with every child, I spent probably the first year and a half hoping that they wouldn't pass too. That's a whole nother video. So, that is my Malachi story. Take whatever you need from it. It is December 29th, 2024. take what you need from it. I do want to take this time to thank anyone who was there for me during that time. I won't even go down the list of names. Y'all know who y'all are. If it was giving me scriptures, going with me to sit by my side, paying for my lunch at the hospital, coming to the funeral. Thank you. So, that's all I have. I probably shared way more than I expected to, but it is what it is. I don't care. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Because that's my Malachi story. That's all I got. As always, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, drop it in the comments below. I love you all. Until next time. Peace.